And hi there, everybody. Welcome inside Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas. It's a final. Utah Tech losing to UNLV 72-14. Rod Zundel, along with former Trailblazer running back Ronnie Walker Jr. And Ronnie, when you look at the score, 72-14, but I'm sure Coach Anderson, when we talk to him, will be looking at positives. And there are some positives. You could see improvement from last week to this week.
Yeah, one thing I like how they start off the game. They matched fire with fire. Came back with three plays with Deacon Hill with throwing the ball, the 70-yard ball to the tight end.
A couple of times the Rebels were in the red zone, and Utah Tech's defense forced them out, pushed them away.
Yeah.
So just like they did last week. They had a couple more sustained drives. Not enough. After that first drive, up until the last 2 minutes of the half, every drive was 3 and out. Way too many 3 and outs. Not enough third down conversions. Defense wasn't able to get off the field. Third down efficiency is a big issue that they've got to get taken care of on both sides of the ball.
Last week they went 1 for 8. This week they went 1 for 12.
1 for 11
last week.
So that's, according to stats, I think they got more than one first down. I think the stats are wrong, and I think they'll change it. But if that's the case, 2 for 25 to start the season, third down.
Wow.
That doesn't work. So if you look at the starting quarterback, Deacon Hill got the start, and he was 14 of 28, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and he had that long touchdown pass to Alec Burton.
Yep.
On the third play from scrimmage for Utah Tech. He also had a pass to Chris Street.
Yeah,
31-yarder that Chris Street did a lot of the work after.
Yeah, went for a touchdown.
And went for it. Reggie Graff came in. He was 4 for 4 for 38, but he also had 5 carries for 30 yards as well. He was vying for our Burt Brothers Doing It Better player of the game as well.
Yeah.
So he came in and played well.
Yeah, one thing I like about Reggie is how they use him. Like, he's a true dual threat, able to throw the ball. We've seen that at the end of the game, but able to run the ball, his ability.
Yeah. Utah Tech, though, still cannot run the ball. 24 carries, 67 yards, 2.8 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And you brought that up as one of your key stats to begin the game.
Yeah, they wasn't able to establish it. And you can see what happens when you don't establish the run games. You let the Rebels able to put more DBs out there just to cover the pass.
So the leading receiver was Chris Street, 5 receptions, 46 yards. Eric Olson, 4 for 29, but he could have had nearly 10 receptions, but he had trouble hanging on to the ball today.
Yep, hanging on to the ball.
Yeah. Now, you go on the other side, and you give us the gory details on their rushing attack by the Rebels. Go ahead.
63 attempts, 504 rushing yards, 8 yards per carry, 12 different ball carriers. So they was versatile who they was giving the ball to. And later than not, Greg Burrell, their freshman, is like the third in a rotation, had over 100 yards this game.
Matthew Sluka, the starting quarterback, the Holy Cross transfer, 8 of 17, 161 yards, 3 touchdowns. And also rushing the football, Sluka had 9 carries, 70 yards, including a 30-yard touchdown run. I mean, he was a dual threat, and he proved it this afternoon.
Yeah.
So
now just looking at receiving.
Yeah, and this is all in the first half.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, these numbers are in the first half for Sluka and for this guy, the All-America returner, the leading guy in receiving yards from a year ago, Ricky White III. He had a great, basically, first quarter and a half.
Yeah, first quarter and a half, the first 3 touchdowns, which made the momentum shift crazy for Utah Tech.
They were big, long runs. Long passes, too. So he had Ricky White III, the All-American. He had 5 receptions. Where did he go? 5 receptions, 111 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Wow. From last week, DeJesus had the shine. Now this week, Ricky White had the shine this week.
Yeah, DeJesus, who had a couple of catches for 2 touchdowns a week ago, only had 1 catch for 36 yards. And more importantly, probably, he did not have a return on a punt or a kick. Andy Day, Uvadoff, they did a good job of keeping it away from him on kickoff and punts.
Yeah, I think they learned from last week when Montana State had flipped the field on them and scored 2 touchdowns just off of special teams.
So when you look at the stats, total yards, 695 for UNLV, 293 for Utah Tech. And we talked about the passing yards, rushing yards. First downs, 32 for the Rebels and 13 for Utah Tech, much better than they did last year. They didn't get their first down until a minute in the fourth quarter, so that's an improvement. Third down conversion, we talked about that. Total plays, 81 to 58.
Wow.
So a little bit better than last week. You go down to time of possession, 36 minutes to 24 minutes.
Wow.
And, so Utah Tech doubled up their minutes.
Yeah.
But they didn't sustain drives like they wanted to. The clock ran for the full 30 seconds on the play clock.
Yeah, just like I was saying between the games, like they have almost so many times, but how they used the ball, how they used it.
Average yards per rush, 2.8 for Utah Tech, 8 yards per carry for UNLV. Red zone, this is not good for the Utah Tech defense. 8 for 8 for UNLV, 0 for 1. And in that red zone performance, they only got to the red zone once, and Utah Tech missed a 37-yard field goal, so they missed an opportunity there. Turnovers, 2 for Utah Tech, but that only resulted into 3 points for UNLV. The defense was able to bend but not break a little bit and hold them out of the end zone. Only 1 turnover for the Rebels, and that was a fumble recovery. Utah Tech wasn't able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
UNLV had 3 fumbles. They only lost 1. 2 of those fumbles were right in the hands of a Utah Tech player, and they just couldn't hang on, and the Rebels recovered. Could have made this, that was 2 touchdowns that resulted on continuing the drive, and Utah Tech could have got something. So, could have made it a little bit more respectable if they'd have just made those plays. And we talked about this through the entire game. Trailblazers put themselves in position. The plays were there. You could see them, but either a block wasn't held, a block was missed, or a couple of drop balls, or a guy was wide open and he tripped when he turned to run.
Yeah.
And turnovers right in your hands and you dropped them. I mean, there were about 6 or 7 that could have changed the momentum and got this team rolling a little bit that were right there, and they didn't take advantage. They didn't finish it off. So that was the improvement. Those plays weren't there last week as much. So that's improvement from game 1 to game 2. Now, game 2 to game 3 next week at home against Northern Arizona. Let's see if they can finish them off. And Northern Arizona, obviously, is not the UNLV Rebels or Montana State.
I agree.
They're still a pretty good team. They've got a new coaching staff as well. So let's see between game 2 and game 3 if they can now actually get these plays there and then finish off the plays and make them count.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And if they can do that, then things are saying, okay, we're on the right track.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Coach Anderson wants to do, saying, hey, we're going to be on the right track.
Yes, sir.
So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. Because he has to feel a little bit better, even though the score doesn't indicate it. But he has to feel a little bit better about the possibility of his team getting there, especially when they had 6 guys out that were major contributors and expected to be major contributors.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, your thoughts as we're going to go to break. And when we come back, head coach Lance Anderson will join us, get his thoughts on this game, 72-14, UNLV with the win. We'll be right back. D.R. Horton is America's largest home builder, but with a local heart. Nestled just west of the Sand Hollow Recreation Area is a 600-acre master-planned community with beautifully designed single-family homes, cottages, and townhomes called Long Valley. Visit us at drhorton.com and join us in continuing the American dream of home ownership and build your next home with D.R. Horton, America's builder.
Experience the magic of southern Utah from the sky and the ground at Confetti Pebbles Hot Air Balloons. They take you on breathtaking journeys across the stunning landscapes of St. George, Hurricane, and beyond. But why just visit when you can live here? Priority First Real Estate is dedicated to helping you find your dream home. Together, they bring you closer to the community, closer to nature, closer to home. Confetti Pebbles Hot Air Balloons and Priority First Real Estate, where adventure meets home.
Hey there, sports fans. Ready to take a time out from the sidelines and jump into the action? St. George Regional Airport has you covered. Score big with convenient flights that take you from our Red Rocks to destinations around the globe. Whether it's the bright lights of LA or an exotic getaway across the Pacific, your adventure starts right here at home. When you're planning that epic getaway, St. George Regional Airport is your home field advantage. Back here in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. The final 72-14 UNLV with the win over Utah Tech. Our Burt brothers doing it better. Player of the game is running back Chris Street. He had some great plays in this one. Running the ball, Chris Street had 5 carries for 40 yards, but receiving the ball is where he really shined today, and you got to give him credit. So rushing the ball, Chris Street, 5 carries for 14 yards. He had 5 receptions for 46 yards and a touchdown, including a 31-yard touchdown where he just took it on the sidelines, and he wouldn't be denied. He just took off and lowered his head. So Chris Street, our Burt brothers, doing it better. Player of the game. Listen to Devin Dixon on The Drive Monday morning on the Fan Sports Radio, and also Caden Formaster and the guys on From the Bleachers Monday afternoon when they talk about the Burt Brothers Player of the Game. Listen to the commercial, and they'll give you a Utah Tech code, and then you can give that code and receive a discount. All right, head coach Lance Anderson joins us now here on the postgame show. And, Coach, when someone just checks the score out, 72-14, they're going to say, wow. But from game 1 to game 2, you have to see some positives. At least we did. And, Coach, I'm sure you talked about this, the positives that the chances were there. You may not have converted and finished them off, but the chances were there so much more than they were a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big play that the offense made, the first possession to score a touchdown. And then just throughout the game, there were a few more sustained possessions where, the offense maintained the ball, converted some first downs, got us on the move and gave us chances to score. And we just got to build on that. As you saw, there are a lot of things that have to get better, but that was a positive.
Staying on the positive aspect of it, the plays were there. On those misdirection plays where you roll right, throw it back across, guy was wide open, had another 20 or 30 yards, a block was missed. Or that inside screen, caught, nobody within 10 yards, receiver turned, and Turf Monster got him and tripped. Another play, didn't hold the block long enough or it propelled him out. And then on defense, they fumbled 3 times. 2 of those balls landed right in the hands of your players, and they couldn't hang on. Now, those are 4, 5, 6, 7 plays that, could have changed a little bit of momentum. You could have got more stuff out of it, turned the tide a little bit. Probably not win, of course, but could have changed the tide. So they're there, Coach.
You're
right.
A lot
more than last week.
Yeah, those things change the game. What's frustrating is that's what's the difference between executing and not executing. And so we have got to finish a lot of those plays a lot better. Those things that you mentioned, Rod, are things that we've got to be able to convert next time around in order for us to have success and have better results than today.
But they were there, and that you can see it on tape, and so you can learn from it. So you say the biggest progress from game 1 to game 2, you could see progress. Now, game 2 to game 3, can you convert what you have progressed?
That's exactly right. We have to capitalize on those opportunities.
Chris Street, our Burt brothers, doing it better, player of the game. Your thoughts about him, because I thought he was very active today. Probably one of his more active games in his Trailblazer career.
Chris Street is a good football player. He does a great job for the time, I've been here. I mean, he runs the ball hard. He can make people miss. He's got leadership ability. I mean, he does things the right way. It's great to have him see some success today.
With any Falaie out, Alec Burton came in, the redshirt senior, that long touchdown. Eric Olson, he got 4 or 5 catches, could have had more, but a couple of drops. Jay McEwen got in the act and even brought him back as a fullback. So you got the guys involved a little bit more since Ennie is out.
Yeah, Coach Stevens does a great job of utilizing that position in his offense, and that's why those guys need to step up because they're going to have opportunities. There are going to be things there for them, and we need to capitalize on those opportunities.
Defensively, the number's not great, over 500 yards rushing by this team, but it's tough to tackle quickness. And they got a lot of their yards after the first and second bump by your defender.
Yeah, it really exposed us today in terms of where we are, just in terms of strength, size, physicality. And so those are areas that we have to get better in. A lot of times we had people there in the hole, we had the right fit, and we didn't make the tackle. So tackling, physicality, strength, those are things that we got to continue to build in this program for us to go where we want to be.
And again, Rebels had great field position in the red zone to start their drives, and your defense held them back. They made the field goals this time, unlike what Montana State did. But you got to give credit again. Defense put in a tough position because a lot of 3 and outs, and even though 72 points, they made a couple of good stands to keep them out of the end zone.
They did. I mean, that was encouraging. We pointed that out at halftime, that there were really like 3 red zone stops where we took over in, tough field position, sudden change situations, and we forced field goal attempts there. So that was real positive. I just would have liked to have seen us carry more of that over to the second half and just finish stronger than we did.
Okay, looking ahead next week to Northern Arizona, you're back home, 7 o'clock kickoff. We look back at last year's game in Flagstaff, over 50 points scored, 5 turnovers by the defense, 2 for defensive touchdowns. We can throw that out a window. They got a new coaching staff. You're a new coaching staff. So what do you want to see now in your progression? Game 1 to Game 2, we saw it. Now, Game 2 to Game 3. What is the thing that you say, okay, we got to do this now to continue our progression?
I mean, we have to have better execution in all phases, offense, defense, special teams. I'd like to just see more intensity, more effort, more guys straining to finish. It needs to be important. It needs to be a priority that we find a way to execute, that we find a way to have success, and that we hang in there, we battle, we fight, and do whatever it takes to get a win.
And finally, Coach, what was your message to your team in the locker room afterwards? Because, when they look at the score, you go, oh, man, but this is a very good team. This top 25 team in all reality that they played today.
No question. I mentioned that to the team that we've played 2 good football teams so far. But where we've got to take a step is the way we prepare, the way we practice, just the effort, the intensity. That has to be better. We've got to be able to take practice to the game. And that's what we need to do a better job of. So I challenged them this week that we can't afford to have a bad day. We can't afford to start slow. We've got to stack great practices all week long in order to have a chance against NAU.
All right, Coach, do you want to end it on that?
That's great.
Okay, Coach Lance Anderson here. As we're going to take a break, Ronnie and I will be back with a final thought and look ahead to next week. That's when the Trailblazer postgame show comes back to Allegiant Stadium.
Welcome to St. George Academy, home of the Dragon Slayers, where academic excellence meets individualized learning right here in Southern Utah. At St. George Academy, we believe in challenging our students with rigorous curriculum, preparing them for a demanding college experience and beyond. And it's all tuition free. Our unique Pathway University program offers accelerated courses, allowing students to earn college credits in high school. Experience the St. George Academy difference, schedule your tour today, and join us on your educational journey.
Yesco is a proud partner of Trailblazer Sports Vision and Utah Tech Athletics. Yesco specializes in manufacture of custom electric signs and displays. From the smallest to the largest, Yesco can design, manufacture, install, and maintain an identification package that is tailored to your specific needs. Yesco has been serving Utah businesses for well over 100 years with quality signage and exceptional service. To see how Yesco can serve you, go to yesco.com.
Craving something sweet but healthy? Come to Berries and Cream, the original spot for fresh berries in our delicious sweet cream. Locally owned and operated right here in St. George. We offer a cold, refreshing treat that's perfect for the southern Utah climate. Fresh fruit has never tasted so good. Berries and Cream, the original taste of St. George.
Back here in Allegiant Stadium, 72-14 is your final UNLV over Utah Tech. Rod Zundel along with Ronnie Walker. You look at the score, you want to gag, but I think that there are some positives that you can take away from this, from last week's game to this week's game. The chances, there were more chances to succeed. They were able to succeed on a couple of those, but they did not convert on enough of those chances to be successful. And if they can do that next week and have those same kind of chances but actually convert and finish them off, then I think that the progression, you'll see it and they'll be happy with it. So final thoughts from you.
Yep. So final thoughts from this game. I think they just have to find their rhythm. They just have to find their rhythm. Then, following for next week, they have to work on running the ball, passing the ball. I think they did a better job passing the ball this week than they did previous week, but they have to put more emphasis on third down conversions, 35, 30-10, 32.
Well, Houston had about 50 yards rushing at home. Utah Tech had 67 yards rushing here in their home. So you look at that and say, okay, a great defense they played. That's a stud defense. So, all right, looking ahead to next week. Last year you were part of this game in Flagstaff with Northern Arizona, put up over 50 points. You won it by 14. Defense got 5 takeaways. Defense scored 2 touchdowns for the Trailblazers. You got the win. You got your first career touchdown in a Trailblazer jersey.
Yeah.
But you can't take anything away from that because both teams have new coaching staffs and they have new players on both sides of the ball for both schools. So, next week it's home. You're back to your caliber of a team where you can try to execute and feel good about yourself.
Yeah, agree. And they could just work on the fundamentals in this game as well. So when they play harder teams, again, like UNLV, they would be much prepared and would be able to execute.
Let's see how much they learned from playing a great FCS team last week to playing a really, really, really top-notch FBS team this week. Mm-hmm. If they can take what they learned into that game next week and then just finish it off, I think they'll just be fine. So I kind of got a positive outlook here because I saw progression. And you as a football player, you saw progression. The chances were there. They just don't know how to finish them yet. So let's see if next week they can finish them off.
Yes, sir.
Ronnie Walker Jr.,
Thank you.
man, thank you for joining us here. And you'll be here a couple more times throughout the year. Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd much rather see you still down in uniform, running for 100 yards. I'd
Yes,
like
sir.
to see that. So, anyway, Ronnie Walker Jr., thank you. Thanks to Connor Collins back at the studio and our Utah Tech Trailblazer Sports Vision interns, Ben Dawson, Zoe Hansen, and Kelso Lundstedt for their help and for their work that they're going to do in editing and getting ready for the coaches show and next week's pregame show. So, for Connor, for Ronnie Walker, I'm Rod Zundel. Once again, the final here in Allegiant Stadium, 72-14 UNLV with the win. We'll see you Tuesday night on the Coaches Show, and then Saturday night, Greater Zion Stadium, Utah Tech kicking off with Northern Arizona at 7 o'clock. So once again, the final 72-14 here in Las Vegas from Allegiant Stadium. We're all saying good night, everybody.